So here's something I never thought about until just recently. There are plenty of horror movies about cults that they can take up their own subgenre, but we can't really refer to them as cult movies because that term's set aside already for movies with special followings. You know, Plan 9 from Outer Space, The Room, the good stuff. Just one of those things that never really crossed my mind. The Other Lamb stars Raffey Cassidy as Selah, who's born into an all-female cult led by a man named Shepard. And all her life, she's led to believe she's safe under his watch and she has nothing to worry about. Though his disturbing behavior begins to concern her and her fellow cult members, which leads to her questioning the morality of her life. Movies about cults can be some of the most polarizing experiences. You either love them or you hate them. You got Rosemary's Baby, The Wicker Man, Mandy, just to name a few. These movies can be really bizarre either through strange imagery or disturbing behavior. And sometimes that's for the better, and sometimes that's for the worst. I think I reached my breaking point last year when I watched Midsommar. That movie was just... ugh. And this movie, to put it simply, does not stray too far from the path of love it or hate it. So let's discuss. This movie can be really eerie at times. Seeing this cult engage in this freaky, ritualistic behavior can be some of the most unsettling stuff to watch. We'll see these women gather around Shepard and they'll either praise him or they'll start shrieking as part of this odd ceremony. And these screams would just be unnerving. I was actually watching this on my laptop and there were people in the other room as I was watching this, and I kept having to adjust the volume every time one of these characters would just wail at the top of their lungs. It would just be really loud and ear-shattering. Visually, this was on point. The direction and the camera work were both spectacular. There were some really gorgeous shots. Even though a lot of scenes took place in darkly lit settings, the color palette was crisp and clear. I never had an issue really seeing anything. And the imagery would be really disturbing at times. Selah would have these visions and we'd see this blood or these disfigured creatures or sometimes even worse. And a lot of it was hard to stomach. And it was well acted. Raffey Cassidy did a great job. She captures perfectly this young woman who's in the middle of this moral crisis. A lot of her performance relied on visual cues and we were able to easily see just how troubled she was. Her entire life comes into question and that's earth-shattering for her, and I think that was conveyed really well through her performance. Michiel Huisman, who portrays Shepard, was the other big standout. I got a lot of the Charles Manson vibe from this guy. Very creepy and very manipulative. He had such a hold over these women that not only would he be openly antagonistic to them sometimes, but he'd be able to easily get them to fight amongst themselves. And it led to some really tense standoffs that went well with the overall moody atmosphere of this film. It was a truly sinister performance and it led to some stomach-churning scenes. Yeah, the problem is, despite all these nice things, this movie really doesn't do much in terms of either story or character. And you preferably want both, but you need at least one of these two things to have a somewhat strong movie. Sure, there are scenes that are tense, and there's this crisis of conscience that Selah faces. The thing is though, the movie doesn't actually do much with any of this to form an actual narrative. You'll see something disturbing happen and Selah reflects on it, but that's all she really does. She thinks about it. She contemplates why she's still in this cult, and that's it. She really doesn't grow much beyond her initial coming to terms with just how bad things may be. Everything feels like vignettes linked together by Selah mulling it over in the next scene or maybe a few scenes later. It never feels like the movie's building towards something specifically. We never sense what direction it's actually headed in. It's kind of just this rinse and repeat. Something bad happens and we reflect on it. I get there are psychological effects to what Selah witnesses and what she's experiencing, and we see how she deals with it. But again, the movie doesn't really go anywhere with this. Even when it gets to the ending, I won't spoil it, it was a fine ending for what it was, but it just feels so disconnected with the rest of the movie because we never got a sense that that's where it was heading towards. So because of that, it just feels abrupt and not really satisfying. You can have a movie that's gorgeously shot, has the right themes, all the right imagery, but if you're lacking in either an engaging story or meaningful character arc, you're going to lose the audience. At that point, if it's just a series of nice images, you might as well just be a series of photographs. This had the right ideas in mind. It shows how powerful of a hold cults may have over someone and the psychological effects it has on them, and it portrays this through some tense exchanges and disturbing imagery. But these never amount to a meaningful, cohesive narrative. They play out like a series of moments and nothing more. A valiant effort, but this one missed the mark. The Other Lamb gets a 5.5 out of 10. So let me know, did you see The Other Lamb or are you planning to see it, and what were your thoughts? Did you find it scary? Did you like its themes? And what's one of your favorite movies surrounding a cult? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, if you like what you see, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.